California, often referred to as the Golden State, is a land of contrasts and contradictions. Stretching nearly 900 miles from the Mexican border to the Pacific Northwest, the state encompasses a vast array of landscapes. The fertile Central Valley, the rugged Sierra Nevada mountains, the arid Mojave Desert, and the scenic Pacific coastline have all played crucial roles in the state's development. It all started with a cold January morning in 1848 in Northern California, when James Marshall, a carpenter overseeing the construction of a sawmill, strolled down to the American River to check on the work. Little did he know, this ordinary moment would change the course of history. As he bent down and picked up a shiny rock, his heart raced. He was convinced it was gold, and he was right. This discovery sparked a frenzy. Within a blink of an eye, word spread, and soon, hundreds of thousands of people from around the globe rushed to California, hoping to strike it rich. They waded through muddy rivers, sifting for their fortune. But it wasn't just miners who flocked to the state. Entrepreneurs set up shops, and farmers began cultivating the fertile lands of the Central Valley. California quickly transformed into an industrial, agricultural, and technological powerhouse. Over time, California became a land of innovation, producing world-changing technologies, exporting culture and entertainment, and earning a reputation as the land of opportunity. It was a place where hard work was often rewarded, and people from all walks of life came in search of the California dream, a dream of prosperity, freedom, and success. The state's geography also made it a critical agricultural powerhouse. The Central Valley, with its rich soil and favorable climate, became one of the most productive agricultural regions in the world, supplying a significant portion of the United States' fruits, vegetables, and nuts. California's ability to feed the nation was one of the many factors that fueled its growth and prosperity. Following the gold rush, California's economy diversified rapidly. The completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869 linked the state to the rest of the country, facilitating trade and migration. By the early 20th century, California had become a leader in several key industries, including oil, agriculture, and entertainment. Hollywood, with its iconic film studios, became the global capital of the entertainment industry. The allure of fame and fortune drew aspiring actors, directors, and writers to Los Angeles, turning it into a cultural mecca. Meanwhile, the discovery of vast oil reserves in Southern California in the early 1900s spurred economic growth and urban development. The mid-20th century saw the rise of another transformative industry, technology. Silicon Valley, located in the San Francisco Bay Area, emerged as the epicenter of the global tech revolution. Companies like Apple, Google, and Facebook were born in this region, driving innovation and creating immense wealth. California's tech industry attracted some of the biggest minds from around the world, solidifying the state's reputation as a land of opportunity and progress. California's rapid growth and economic success also brought significant social changes. The state became a melting pot of cultures, with large communities of immigrants from Asia, Latin America, and Europe. This diversity enriched California's cultural landscape, giving rise to a vibrant art scene, diverse cuisine, and a progressive social ethos. However, the state's success also exposed deep-rooted disparities. The wealth generated by industries like Hollywood and Silicon Valley was not evenly distributed, leading to significant income inequality. As the cost of living soared, particularly in urban areas like San Francisco and Los Angeles, many Californians found themselves priced out of the housing market. The rise of homelessness became a visible and growing problem, particularly in the state's major cities. Racial tensions also simmered beneath the surface, occasionally erupting into violence and unrest. The Watts riots of 1965 and the Los Angeles riots of 1992 were stark reminders of the social challenges facing the state. Despite its progressive image, California grappled with issues of racism, inequality, and social justice, challenges that continue to this day. California's diverse geography while a source of economic strength, also brought environmental challenges. The state's location along the Pacific Ring of Fire makes it particularly vulnerable to natural disasters. Earthquakes, wildfires, and droughts have all had devastating impacts on the state's communities and economy. The San Andreas Fault, which runs nearly the entire length of California, is one of the most seismically active regions in the world. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake, which destroyed much of the city, remains one of the most catastrophic natural disasters in U.S. history. The threat of a major earthquake, often referred to as the Big One, looms large in the minds of Californians. In recent years, wildfires have become an increasingly destructive force. Prolonged droughts, exacerbated by climate change, have turned vast areas of the state into tinderboxes. The 2018 Camp Fire, which destroyed the town of Paradise and claimed 85 lives, was a stark reminder of the growing frequency and intensity of these fires. The state's struggle to manage its water resources has also become a critical issue, with prolonged droughts threatening both agriculture and urban water supplies. Moreover, the economy of California is one of the biggest in the world, and if it were its nation, it would have the fifth largest economy in the world by GDP. In just 150 years, California grew from a remote Mexican outpost of maybe only 150,000 people into what is arguably the most consequential piece of real estate on Earth. And yet, it now has the nation's highest rate of poverty when measured by cost of living. Literally thousands of large firms are moving elsewhere, and for the first time, its population shrunk last year. Why would our fortunes be left to one of the most successful regions in the world? And yet, it is incredibly unaffordable for 90% plus of its population. But for all its glory, California's shine has dimmed. For the first time in its history, the state saw its population decrease in 2020, a phenomenon dubbed the Great California Exodus. For decades, people have been leaving California, and the trend is accelerating. The main reason? The skyrocketing cost of living. To afford a basic home, Californians need to earn at least 7 times the median income. In Los Angeles County, half of all residents spend more than 50% of their income on rent. This isn't just a problem for individuals. Even large companies like Oracle, HP, and Tesla have packed up and left, taking thousands of high-paying jobs with them. They cite California's hostile business environment as a major factor in their decision to move. Despite its enormous economy, which would rank 5th in the world if California were a country, the high cost of living and taxes mean that many residents are not as wealthy as one might think. In fact, California has the second highest cost of living in the United States, just behind Hawaii. It's no surprise then that the state also has the highest percentage of people living in poverty and is home to half of the nation's homeless population. The rise and fall of the California dream. So, how did California, once a beacon of wealth and opportunity, become so difficult to live in for so many? To understand this, we need to go back to the beginning. In 1848, California was nothing like it is today. It was a sparsely populated territory of Mexico, with just 150,000 people, only 4.5% of whom were non-Native Americans. But James Marshall's discovery of gold changed everything. The news spread like wildfire, triggering the largest migration in U.S. history. Over 300,000 people poured into California, not just from the U.S., but from places as far away as China, South America, Australia, and Europe. San Francisco, the gateway to the gold fields, saw its population explode from just 200 people in 1848 to 37,000 by 1853. Gold mining was so profitable that ships were abandoned in the port as their crews and captains rushed to join the hunt for gold. To support the booming population, new towns and cities sprang up, and California's economy flourished. But it wasn't just gold that fueled California's rise. The state's Central Valley, with its rich soil and ideal climate, became a hub for agriculture. Southern California, in particular, grew into one of the nation's largest producers of dairy and meat. California's long coastline also made it a perfect location for trade with Asia and a thriving fishing industry. By 1850, just 2 years after the gold rush began, California had grown so much that it bypassed the usual process of becoming a state. It was admitted to the Union and set its boundaries. The new state government, flush with cash from the gold rush, invested heavily in infrastructure and education, building schools and universities that would set the foundation for California's future. As the gold began to run out, California's economy got another boost from the construction of the Central Pacific Railroad. Completed in 1869, this railroad connected California directly to the rest of the United States, lowering prices, increasing profits, and spurring even more population growth. Around the turn of the 20th century, California's influence expanded even further. Large reserves of oil were discovered near Los Angeles and the San Joaquin Valley. This oil boom, combined with the rise of the automobile, turned California into the nation's leading oil producer by 1903. At the same time, the film industry was taking off. Filmmakers eager to escape the patent restrictions in New York flocked to Southern California, where they could film year-round thanks to the sunny weather. This gave birth to Hollywood, which would go on to become a global entertainment powerhouse. As California's population continued to grow, so did its need for resources, particularly water. Massive projects like the Los Angeles Aqueduct and the Central Valley Project redirected water from the mountains and rivers to the cities and farmlands, turning the Central Valley into the most productive agricultural region in the United States. Alongside these water projects, new railroads and highways were built, further boosting the state's industrial growth. California also benefited from its strategic location. During World War II, the state became a military-industrial powerhouse, with new naval ports, airfields, and shipyards springing up to support the war effort. After the war, California continued to attract massive military investments, particularly in the aerospace industry, which provided thousands of jobs and spurred economic growth. Perhaps the most significant factor in California's rise to global prominence was its investment in education. From the early days, California made education a priority, establishing a near-universal school system and building some of the nation's first universities. By the 1930s, California was a leader in high school education, and the state's investment in higher education paid off when Stanford University in the Bay Area became a hub for research and development. This set the stage for the birth of Silicon Valley. Encouraged by Stanford, students began commercializing their ideas, attracting venture capital, and launching some of the most influential tech companies in the world, including HP, Intel, Google, and Apple. Silicon Valley quickly became the global center for technological innovation, generating immense wealth and attracting talent from around the world. At the same time, California's economy has become more unequal. While Silicon Valley continues to thrive, it doesn't create enough jobs to support the entire state. Manufacturing jobs have moved overseas, and the end of the Cold War led to a decline in military and industrial jobs. As a result, unemployment in California has remained persistently higher than the national average, particularly for blue-collar and middle-class workers. To address these challenges, the state has raised taxes on businesses and high-income earners, using the revenue to fund education, infrastructure, and social services. But this has also made California less business-friendly. In recent years, the state has seen an exodus of companies and wealthy individuals who are moving to states with lower taxes and fewer regulations. As they leave, they take with them billions of dollars in tax revenue that California relies on to support its growing population and crumbling infrastructure. Despite its many strengths, California has faced significant challenges in recent decades that have contributed to a sense of decline. The state's high cost of living, particularly in major cities, has led to an exodus of residents seeking more affordable living conditions elsewhere. States like Texas, Nevada, and Arizona have seen an influx of former Californians, drawn by lower taxes, cheaper housing, and lower cost of living. The exodus of both residents and businesses has raised concerns about California's long-term economic viability. The state's once robust middle class is shrinking, with many struggling to keep up with rising housing costs, healthcare expenses, and taxes. Meanwhile, the tech industry, which has been a major driver of the state's economy, faces growing scrutiny over its impact on society, including issues related to privacy, monopolistic practices, and the displacement of traditional industries. Social issues, too, have become more pronounced. The homelessness crisis, particularly in cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, has reached unprecedented levels. Despite the state's wealth, California has one of the highest poverty rates in the nation when factoring in the cost of living. The state's progressive policies, while well-intentioned, have struggled to address these deep-rooted issues effectively.